Breaking news, Shavkat Rakhmonov has re-injured himself and he's going to be out of competition for another 10 months. Fucking sick of this shit, lad. So yeah, the news is out. Shavkat Rakhmonov is out of the UFC welterweight rankings. He's been out for a year. He's going to be out for probably another year. He's been seen recently at some sort of regional scene event using crutches, hobbling around, and he's been removed from the welterweight rankings. Now this is such a what if, and believe it or not, it's basically a very similar situation to fucking Zabit Magomedsharipov, who was also forced out of competition because of other reasons, of course. They're both 31 years old. Zabit left. Everyone for years and years and years have been asking the question of what if, what if? Now Shavkat's out for another 10 months. Are we going to see him return? I don't know. When he returns, he's going to be 32, 33 years old. And it just seems like at this stage, everything in the universe is trying to stop Shavkat from making his return. So this leaves us with a big question, because a lot of people have been asking the question recently, what do we do with welterweight? And I was thinking, what do we do with welterweight? And then I had a fucking bright idea. So I called Dana, I called Hunter, we gathered in the war room, we chopped it up, we were talking fights, and we got our matchmaking hats on. And today, I'm going to be matchmaking the welterweight division. We are going to be giving the definitive fights that we need to see. End of discussion. There's a lot of people speculating on how we arrange welterweight, which fighters should fight who, how we're going to do this. But I'm here today to solve all of that as we jump straight into the first fight that we're going to be discussing. And I think, in my opinion, this is the most simple one, right? We got Islam Makhachev versus Michael Morales. Cinema. Absolute cinema. This fight needs to happen. This fight simply needs to happen. Now, people are speculating over who Islam Makhachev should fight next. People are saying Ian Gary. People are saying... I don't want to hear any of that. These two guys, they're both on a tear. And when you look at the rest of the welterweight division, like we're going to be doing in this video, you'll see clear as day why Michael Morales should get the next title shot. I mean, let's just look at his recent fights. Beat Sean Brady by round 1 KO. Beat Gilbert Burns by round 1 KO. Beat Neil Magny by round 1 KO. Before that, he beat Jake Matthews by decision and Max Griffin by decision. But all that tells me is that this motherfucker, he's getting better. Each opponent is better than the last one. And he's on a tear at the moment. I know there was that controversy over, oh, did he take a loss back when he was 17 years old? I don't want to hear about all of that shit. That was on a reality TV show. We're not talking about that. And on the other side, we've obviously got Islam Makhachev, the champion, beat JDM by decision. Dominant fight, but it was boring. But he's the champ. So the champ does what the fucking champ wants, right? So as I said, he's just beaten JDM by decision. He beat Renato Moicano by round 1 sub. Beat Dustin Poirier by round 5 sub. That was a gritty fight, which is what makes this fight exciting. A striker who can also counter wrestle could give him some problems. JDM accepted the position way too many times in the fight. I don't know if Michael Morales is going to do that. Time is going to tell. Might age badly. But this is why we match up these fights. This is why we do it. And then before that, he had the 2 Alexander Volkanovski fights. RIP Volk. But Volk is flourishing at the moment. Back on top with a big dominant win over Diego Lopez. So those 2 wins against Volkanovski are aging fucking beautifully, right? If Volk just faded off into obscurity and lost all of his recent fights, then okay, maybe it has a little bit less credibility. But Islam Makhachev beat prime Volkanovski. He also beat a Volkanovski who came in on short notice, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Islam's on a tear. Michael Morales is on a tear. Match these 2 up. It makes perfect sense. And on that note, we're going to be moving straight on to the next fight that we're going to be talking about, which is Ian Gary versus JDM. A lot of people are crying out for Ian Gary to get the title shot. I'm not one of those guys. I think he needs to do a little bit more in order to fully assert himself into that conversation. You could put him in there if fucking Michael Morales wasn't around at the moment, but Michael Morales is on a win streak, a big win streak in comparison to Ian Gary, who's on a 2-fight win streak, but he lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov. And it seems like even recently, hearing about the whole news about Shavkat Rakhmonov, we've seen videos of Ian Gary being all pally with Shavkat when he fought Bilal Muhammad in his most recent fight and he was having his walkout. You could see him go up to Shavkat Rakhmonov, he was dapping him up and all of that. But now, he's been talking shit. He's been saying, I'm the reason why Shavkat retired. I'm this, I'm that. I did the damage. He's been going on a parade tour over Shavkat's injury, which I don't really fuck with. And you know what? Best we can do You got JDM, brother. How's that? You're facing JDM for 5 rounds. We're going to do a 5-round main event sometime in this year. And I think another reason to consider Michael Morales over Ian Gary in terms of when we're talking about the title shots is that Ian Gary's wins have just all come by decision recently, which is great for the parlay. Ian Gary by decision, bam, bam, bam. Take my fucking money. But when it comes to scrambling for the title shot, it's not really doing too much for you, brother. It's not really doing too much for you. So we're going to be putting you up against JDM. JDM obviously did come off of his loss to Islam Makhachev, where he got dominated. But previous to that, we're going to ignore that fight because that fight was as frustrating as the DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev fight. So we're going to kind of discount that in terms of JDM's overall ability. He just had a night. He fought Islam Makhachev. He fought one of the greatest fighters of all time. Shit happens. We get ourselves up. We pick our fucking selves up by the bootstrap. Shout out Michael Chandler. And we move on. We move on. And he's going to be moving on to Ian Gary. Just dropped the fight to Islam Makhachev, beat Belal Muhammad by decision, winning himself the belt, beat Gilbert Burns, knocked him out round 3 with that filthy fucking knee. He might have been losing the fight, but he knocked him out with a filthy fucking knee. And in that fight, he had a broken arm as well. That was proven afterwards. He had x-rays. We saw the photos. He had a broken arm. Previous to that, beat Kevin Holland, split decision, and then split decision versus Basil Hafez, which is kind of fucking strange because that should not have been a split decision. But nonetheless, we're going to be doing JDM versus Ian Gary. Also, these two kind of have a history. You know what I'm saying? Ian Gary getting his son to give JDM fucking M&Ms in fight week, and JDM answering at media saying, you know, I don't think that's actually his son, eh? So there's a bit of a storyline there. Let's capitalize on that. Let's do Ian Gary versus JDM. Why not? And we are going to be moving straight on to the next fight we're going to be talking about, which is Belal Muhammad versus Carlos Praches. In the words of Ian Gary, Carlos Praches. Just have to pronounce it the way that the old Zillions do. Anyway, so we've got Belal Muhammad versus Carlos Praches. This is a good fight. Belal Muhammad is ranked 4. Carlos Praches is ranked 5th. It makes sense. Belal's just lost a fight. You got to fight down, bro. Carlos Praches has just won a fight. You can fight up. Number 4 versus number 5 seems like a pretty obvious one to me. And I think this would be a good fight. Belal's proven himself now that he's not necessarily as boring of a fighter as everyone says. Even in his fight against JDM, I know people were saying, oh, he just couldn't get the takedowns. But there were moments where he was completely confident and open to trade on the feet. Whereas previously in his career, he would just shoot the takedown pretty fast within a fight. And I don't know if he's going to be doing that against Carlos Praches. I know that Carlos has the one-shot nuke power. But I think with the newfound confidence that Belal has, I know he's just dropped 2 fights, but on the feet, he's becoming way more confident. And I would suggest Belal Muhammad probably thinks that if he can avoid the nuke shot of Carlos Praches, then he's going to be able to Canelo himself through this one. And I wouldn't put it past him to think that he can beat Carlos Praches on the feet and then rely on the wrestling if it needs. And that, to me, sounds like a perfect fucking culmination for a flatline finish. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, but who fucking knows? Who fucking knows? Belal Muhammad versus Carlos Praches, it makes sense. Belal Muhammad, as I said, coming off a loss against Ian Gary, coming off a loss against JDM. He put up a pretty good fight in both of them. Stood on the feet with both of these guys. Before that, he won against Leon Edwards, becoming the champ. He beat Gilbert Burns by decision. And then before that was like the start of this whole fucking big run that he did. It was a 3-fight run, pretty much. I think before that he fought Vicente Luque, but we're not worrying about that. After he TKO'd Sean Brady, this is when shit started getting real for Belal Muhammad. And I think on the side of Carlos Prates, he just KO'd Leon Edwards. He just KO'd Jeff Neal. Before that, he lost to Ian Gary, but so's Belal Muhammad. You got a common loss here. And then before that, he obviously fucking slimed out Neil Magny with an elbow against the fence. And he hit one of the sexiest combos I've ever seen against Li Jingliang up against the fence. Douche! Slept him bad. I think Carlos Prates versus Belal Muhammad is a pretty good fight to put together. I think this would be a great fight. So this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to match these two guys up. We're going to stick it on a big pay-per-view. I know we're not doing pay-per-views anymore, but I still want to say pay-per-view because it, you know what I'm saying? Has a feel to it. Has a great feel to it. Pay-per-view. We're sticking them on. We are going to be matching up Belal Muhammad versus Carlos Prates because that's a fucking barn burner of a fight. Has Belal still got it? Is Carlos Prates just going to take another chin home with him? Because it seems like the way that Carlos Prates fights, he either KOs someone in vicious fashion or he loses by decision. Belal Muhammad has a tendency to win by decision. So this seems like a nice little recipe of a good fight. So we're going to fucking ship these two off. We're going to be matchmaking this fight. Carlos Prates versus Belal Muhammad. And we're going to be moving straight on to the next fight, which is Sean Brady versus Kamaru Usman. Now listen here. I don't know who has the audacity to say that Kamaru Usman deserves to even be in the conversation of having another title shot at this stage in his career. He's got one win over Joaquin Buckley. And Joaquin Buckley's a good fighter. Everyone likes Buck. But before that, you fucking lost to Chimaev at middleweight, which we'll give it to you. You were doing well in that fight. If that was a 5-round fight, that might have been a little bit different. But it wasn't a 5-round fight. It was a 3-round fight, and you lost. And before that, he lost to Leon Edwards by decision over 5 rounds. And that was kind of a bit of a stamp, because before that, he faced Leon Edwards, where he was winning the fight, and he just got head kicked in round 5. Don't let him bully you, son, is what Leon Edwards' coach said. And then Edwards went out in round 5, head kicked Usman, folded him, and ended the whole legacy of Kamaru Usman as the welterweight champion. As I said, after that, he fought him again, and he lost a very convincing decision. You cannot tell me that Kamaru Usman is in the conversation of having a title shot. I know Ali Abdelaziz manages Kamaru Usman, and I know that he manages Islam Makhachev, but that don't mean shit. Doesn't mean that you get double payday just because your two fighters are in the same fucking division and they have a single digit ranking. That's just not how we do it, alright? Kamaru Usman's not getting the next title shot. What I would like to see is Kamaru Usman face Sean Brady. Now, I know Sean Brady has been talking about potentially moving down to lightweight, but in reality, he's only lost 2 out of his last 5, and then before that, he's been winning all of his fucking fights. The loss to Belal Muhammad surprised us all. I know it surprised Sean Brady because he got TKO'd, but it surprised us all. I know Sean Brady gassed out in that fight, but as I said, before that, he was on an absolute tear. And if we discount the Belal fight, just for fucking example's sake, he would have been on a massive, massive win streak. And he's just lost to Michael Morales, who in my opinion is the most deserving of the next welterweight title shot. I don't want to see Sean Brady move down to lightweight. I want to see Sean Brady face Kamaru Usman. We've got a grappler versus a wrestler. We've got a legacy fight in terms of both of these guys. Kamaru Usman proving himself against another... Can we call Sean Brady a prospect at this stage? I think so. I know he's beaten a lot of the top guys, but he still hasn't had a title shot yet. I'm calling him a prospect. Sean Brady is a prospect at this stage. He's a very good prospect. I think Sean Brady is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC right now. Come at me if you want, just because he's boring and he grapples a lot. But he wins a lot as well. He's just lost to Michael Morales in a pretty devastating loss where he got finished in fucking round 1. But when we zoom out, it's pretty obvious to me that this is the fight to make for both of these guys. Kamaru Usman's not getting a title shot. Sean Brady's not moving down to lightweight. We're matching these guys up together because it'll be a good fight. And the winner of this, in my opinion, can then go on to fight for the number 1 contender spot. Then at that stage, if Ali Abdelaziz wants to be fucking yapping on behalf of Kamaru Usman, talking about this guy getting a title shot, he would have had 3 wins in the bank. He would have beaten Sean Brady. He would have beaten the next fighter in the number 1 contender fight. Then he can get his title shot. I'm not mad at that. On the other side, Sean Brady, if he faces Kamaru Usman, we're talking 4-2 in his last 6. It's not bad. Then you can face the number 1 contender. Boom. We've got another fucking guy back in the mix. Sean Brady's back in the mix because he's actually good. Kamaru Usman's back in the mix because he's got legacy. He's racked up a win streak, and it makes sense to give him that based on his previous history. And then we're working on a merit-based system. We're not working on pure entertainment or what's going to generate Paramount Plus the most money. We're working on a merit-based system, and this makes sense in terms of merit. Sean Brady versus Kamaru Usman is pretty obvious to me. And that's exactly who we're going to be matching up. We're going to be facing them off against each other. And we're going to give the winner a number 1 contender fight. All right? Moving on to the last fight that we're going to be talking about in the welterweight division. We can talk about more, but in terms of the top dogs, we're going to just be covering the main guys in the division, right? Moving on, we have got Leon Edwards versus our boy Joaquin Buckley. Look at the difference. Can I just say, look at the difference in physique between these guys. I know Leon's a lot lankier than Buckley, but god damn, boy. Now, Leon Edwards has kind of fallen on tough times recently. He's on a 3-fight losing skid, dropping to Carlos Prates. He got round 2 flatlined just last year. Really, really bad. He got KO'd, and I don't know if you've seen the image. You know what? I'm going to pull it up on the screen. He got KO'd so bad by Carlos Prates that he was smiling. Now, I don't know if Leon Edwards smiles in his sleep, but he was smiling in his sleep back in November when he got slept out in front of fucking 50,000. He was smiling. Before that, he lost to Sean Brady. He got submitted. He got choked out in fucking round 4. Before that, he lost to Bilal Muhammad by decision, which was a tough one. It was a tough one because Leon was coming in with a lot of energy against Bilal because of how the first fight went. In the first fight, he was winning the fight until the eye poke. When he eye-poked Bilal Muhammad, he got in deep. He got in real, real deep. And in my opinion, that was one of the best things that could have happened to Bilal Muhammad, because in reality, he was going to lose that fight. And then I don't think he would have gotten the title shot against Leon Edwards when Leon was champion if he had lost that previous fight. But Bilal Muhammad beat him by decision. So in Leon Edwards' last 3 fights, he's lost by KO, sub, and decision. He's had the fucking trifecta, which is why we're sort of matching him up last in this video. And when we look at the rankings, he's still ranked number 8. He's still ranked above Joaquin Buckley. He's dropped his last 3. So we're going to be making Leon fight down. However, we're not going to make him fight too far down because, you know, after Buckley, you kind of get into like the Gabriel Bonfils, you get into the fucking Jeff Neals, you get into the Colby Cummins. We're not going to be doing that to Leon just yet. Not just yet. We'll give you one more test, Leon, just because you were kind of fucking slimed. Well, you've been slimed out, but you were also kind of slimed out for a long time when you were on that crazy win streak and you weren't getting the title shot. So we're going to give you a little bit. English bias, all right? In reality, we should probably just be throw Leon Edwards over to Colby Covington. Let them just duke it out. Let them do their thing in the background. But we're not going to do that. We're giving Leon Edwards Joaquin Buckley. He's just lost to Kamaru Usman. But before that, Joaquin Buckley was on a tear, and Joaquin Buckley was on his way to a title shot, beating Colby Covington. That was a bit of a brutal one. He beat Colby Covington, and it was a round 3 doctor stoppage. Before that, he knocked out Wonder Boy. Who does that? A couple of people do that. Anthony Pettis does that. A couple of people do that. But he knocked out Wonder Boy, and before that, beat Nursultan Rozaboyev by decision. I think he was a pretty big underdog in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. And then before that, he beat Vicente Luque, and that one was just sad because of Luque's brain injury. He had a brain aneurysm or something like that. Came back, and it was kind of like, is he going to do good? Is he not? Probably not. And then, obviously, Buckley fucking smoked him. But as I said, before the Kamaru Usman loss, which was by decision, he was on a bit of a tear. So we're going to be giving him a former champion. We're going to give Joaquin Buckley another crack at a former champion. And that's going to be Leon Edwards. And I think the storyline going into this one, pretty obvious. Once again, Leon Edwards, former champ. Once upon a time had a crazy 12-fight win streak. Didn't get his shot at the title. Then he's dropped his last 3 to some of the best fighters in the division. Joaquin Buckley, on the other hand, has just lost to a former dominant champion who has proven that he still kind of has it. Not enough to get a fucking title shot. But Buckley's really skillful. And I think Leon Edwards versus Buckley, there's no chance this is going to be a sleeper fight. Buckley can wrestle. Buckley can strike really well. Leon Edwards can wrestle. Leon Edwards can strike really well. He's kind of dropped it recently, but he's a very precise striker, and he's been known as a sniper. And Joaquin Buckley is a fucking bull in a china shop. He's going to blitz forward, and the question is Leon Edwards going to be able to circle away, find his shot, put him away? I don't know. That's why I'm matching up these guys. I think this is a sick fight. I think this is a really entertaining fight. And all in all, that's going to wrap it up. This is going to be a relatively short video, but I just wanted to sort of touch on the whole Shavkat Rakhmonov situation. I'm pissed. I'm really, really fucking pissed because Shavkat, he was meant to be the guy. As I said, he was right there. He had his fucking title shot signed, sealed, and delivered. His body just hates him. I don't know. Shavkat's out for another 10 months, and this is how I would matchmake the rest of the welterweight division. So let me know in the comments, boys. Do you agree or do you disagree with all of my matchups here? And also, what would you change? If you don't agree with my matchups, how would you reshuffle it? Because I really want to hear what your thoughts would be, who you would face against who, and what you would potentially do different in terms of matching these guys up. And on that note, we're going to wrap up the video. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, do all of that stuff. Hit the bell. Check out the fightvaults.com. Check out the merch. Check out the fucking clothing line that we got going. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.